I think we left it at the house.
I think it's someone to give to you. Oh, yeah, left on the dining table. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. You have no bass on this speaker.
It's there. It could be turned up.
Just turn it down, both treble and bass at noon. Sounds like a transistor radio.
Yeah, it's good. That was more bass.
Then the treble and the bass both at noon.
Yeah.
Krishna.
Hello.
Radio, Manawit. Hare Krishna.
Hello.
Who needs a pillow?
Mataji, muti dati. Hello to Sharon.
Who needs some cloth?
It's warm enough.
Is that okay?
Hello to Sharon.
No, it's okay. For yourself.
Hello to Sharon.
Pass this one. Rati, can we put this in the back?
On the floor?
Radha, Radha Madhava.
Officially welcome you here.
Oh, thank you.
On the final program of our current visit to Holland. We're so grateful that you've spent all this time in different parts of Holland as
Yeah.
Okay. We just want to say thank you for coming and spending so many days with us, and also doing a seminar, Japa seminar, and an initiation even. and japa walks and japa talks and so many other things, nice instructions, Harinam, very good, yes. So we have heard rumors that you're coming for the Kirtan Mela next year. So I think it would be a wonderful combination to have you there. And yes, for everyone here also, of course, warm welcome. Thank you for gracing my little home here. There is the bathroom, and that if you need to use it. And also, if you get too hot, we have a nice balcony in the back. You can get some fresh air. And yeah, other than that, enjoy. Thank you. Krishna. What's that? Window?
We can open it.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Kan iemand op de grond zitten dan? Die kussen.
Hare Krishna, Hare
For someone that comes sitting in the back.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasyata Deshatarine Vanshakhalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha
Govinda,
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you for coming. Is there a topic or free for all or what?
Well, I was wondering, since your first class in Rotterdam, we were speaking about the Krishna book and the launch of the Krishna book.
The launch of the Krishna.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I was wondering maybe you can speak some more, among other things perhaps, because we have this Krishna book festival.
Oh,
And
yes.
just would like you to churn the nectar and maybe you can maybe some pastime from the Krishna book or something you'd like to share so that we can all get closer to Lord Krishna and also increase our inspiration to share his wonderful personality with others in the form of, for example, book distribution.
Wow.
It's my house. Yes. But it's a
Well,
good idea.
I can plant a little thought that it's, maybe we take this for granted, but I was in when I was staying with Nilambar in his old house. There was a church about four blocks, so I'd go and I'd sometimes chant my rounds in there, and there were pictures all over the church. And there's that one picture where God is putting his hand out. Is that a famous picture? Yeah, Sistine Chapel. And there were a few other pictures where God is portrayed as, old man, gray hair, long beard. Because if you're old, your hair turns gray and it grows long. So God's old, so he's gray and he looks old. In that picture, he looks old, right? Yeah. So we can pretty much safely say that nobody really knows, as Prabhupada said, God's name, his address, his phone number, his mother, his father. Prabhupada used to say that. So it's quite an interesting thought to think that in the whole world, outside of certain branches of Hinduism, people don't even know what God does, what he looks like, what's he doing right now. He's taking prasadam. He's just finished milking the cows. He's taking prasadam. Then he'll be getting ready for bed, and then he's going to sneak out at night because he has a date with Radharani. He's going to stay out all night, and he's going to rush back just before his mother. Oh, here's the picture. Just before his mother. That's one of the pictures here. This is another picture I saw. God is on the left.
With Jesus and God, the Son and the Father.
This is what God looks like.
Bless
In case you don't know. Looks more like Lord Brahma to me. Doesn't it? I don't know. I don't think Lord Brahma looks old. So it's interesting to meditate on the world outside of certain branches of Hindu Vaishnava tradition, Sri Sampradaya, Gaudiya Sampradaya, that they don't know what God is, who God is, what he looks like, what he does. And the Krishna book does. So that in itself is kind of overwhelming, isn't it? You can go on the street and go, here's a book about God. This is what he looks like, where he lives, what he does, who's his mother, his father, his friends. Play-by-play account of what he's doing. So I said in Amsterdam that I wrote a letter to Prabhupada, and I had this realization, just kind of like what I call a duh moment. I had a duh moment. When the obvious strikes you, I call that a duh moment. And so I had a duh moment. I said, oh my Govinda. Nobody knows who God is. who he is, where he is, what he's done. I know a little something. And then I wrote Prabhupada, like a excited little boy who just had a big realization. Daddy, there's a ice cream store on the corner. I didn't know that. We've walked by it 100 times. I didn't notice. It's like that. And Prabhupada. Yes. Only we know who is God. So that's a Krishna book. You want to know who God is, what he looks like, what he does, it's right there. Hare Krishna. So, I didn't get to tell, I briefly told the story of the first time I distributed a Krishna book. I've taken a lot of drugs in my life, not a lot, but some. And my first Krishna book experience was more intoxicating than my first experience of distributing Krishna book. I think it was 1971. It's probably like the third Krishna book ever distributed on the street in the Hare Krishna movement. I was more intoxicated. When I told it, I was about a block or 2 blocks away from the van, so I had to come back to the van and meet the other devotees, and I got lost. I couldn't find my way back. You know, like if you're really drunk, you can't find your house and it's 2 blocks away. I was overwhelmed. There's so much mercy that I got from Prabhupada for distributing that book. So, it's quite exciting to give someone a Krishna book. Exciting for them and exciting for you. So, yes, there they are. This lecture is leading up to something. You'll have to get your wallets out soon.
No, you don't. It's about Krishna. There's opportunities always.
It's about Krishna's money in your pocket. That we're going to need to distribute these books. This book was published in 1981. Is that correct?
In Dutch.
In Dutch. 1981. 1981. How many were published? Let's look. This is going to be embarrassing. I think it was 10,000. 10,000 exemplaren.
Yeah.
Exemplaren.
Exemplaren. 10,000, and there's 7,000 left. Now, how many years has it been since 1981? 42?
That much.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
42 or 32?
40.
In 42 years, we distributed 3,000 of these. And we printed these in 1981. Now, I don't want to make you feel embarrassed or guilty or shame you or anything. But that's embarrassing, isn't it? A little bit. So, Rati Manjari has taken it upon her lotus head to get these books distributed. And so I have this feeling it's going to happen. These are the only books in Dutch that we have left.
No.
Oh,
No,
cool.
no.
No, we haven't.
No.
But the Krishna, this is the Dutch Krishna.
This is the Dutch Krishna.
Yeah.
How many of you have the Dutch Krishna book? Oh, yeah. Anyway, we'll talk more later. So, we've been talking a little bit about how Krishna, he didn't have to come down here. But he came down here to do a few things. And one of the things he comes down here to do is do things. Well, that sounds pretty stupid. Why does he come down here to do things? So we can hear about the things he does and become purified. And you may remember, if you've read Krishna book, that sometimes Krishna would go out and he would do these amazing things, and his friends would come back and tell their parents, do you know that today there was this donkey who came, and Krishna would pick him up and swirled him around, threw him in the trees. like that. And they were like, no way. And the cowboys said, yes way. He did it. Did you really tell me? And then they would write songs. They would compose poetry and songs about that particular Leela, pastime, activity Krishna did. And then when they were working in the day, they would sing that song. So they had something to sing other than Baby, I love you, don't leave me. Or Baby, I love you, come back. Or Baby, why did you run away with my best friend? My heart's broken. They had something else to sing. Or a real song by B.B. King, Baby, the thrill is gone. Okay. So, and also, Krishna comes and he performs activities so we have something to talk about rather than politics, sports, the stock market, and all the people you don't like. What else do we talk about? Is there anything else we talk about? The weather, work, diseases, pandemics. Yeah.
Birth.
We talk, one of my godbrothers said, the only difference between the news today and 20 years ago is the names are just different, but the same events have happened. So Krishna comes, so we have something to talk about that's better, but we also have something to talk about that's uplifting, that can purify us. And then, as you may know, there's this art form called, there's many art forms, dance forms in India. So they do dances to illustrate the pastimes of Krishna. If there's no pastimes, you can't dance. We just do some modern jazz or something that is just artistically nice, but doesn't necessarily have any deep meaning. So they're doing dancing, and all the different mudras, that's obviously Krishna playing the flute, and this is the lotus flower, and I'm not actually a dancer, so I guess I've run out of things to show you. But, they play the gopis, and they do the sidelong dance, Krishna's. So now all the dancers can get absorbed in Krishna Lila by dancing. And then there's drama. And so Krishna has all these Leelas, and we can do drama so we can get absorbed in the drama. I want to tell you something really funny. Well, it's not funny, laughing funny, but you might laugh. But it's funny in a funny way. Do you know what I mean? My daughter was 7 or something. She was playing with her friends, and I said, "What are you guys doing?" She said, "We're enacting the pastimes of Krishna." And she said, "You adults, you should do the same thing." I was like, yeah. Just go out, go to the park and just enact Leela, get absorbed. There doesn't have to be anybody watching it, but for our own self. So, we have some devotees in our movement that love to sing, write songs, so they can sing and write songs. I think we have one of them here today. He likes to sing and write songs. If there is no Krishna Paravita, what would you sing about? It's like, Krishna comes and it's like, it gives me so many things to sing about. Right? And the poets, they have so much poetry you can write about. If Krishna didn't come, we would have to use those talents for something else. And Prabhupada used to say that, this is so simple. We're going to do this anyway, but when you do it about Krishna, you get purified and ultimately liberated. So that's the beauty of Krishna coming. So that's really why Krishna comes. So we have something to look at, think about, talk about, sing about, act about, dance about. Did I miss anything? Write poetry about? Eat? Paint about, yes.
Dream about.
Dream about. See comes with painting, so I was thinking of painting, but yeah. Paint about. What else is left? Preach, yeah. Talk about.
Produce.
Produce what? Books about?
Music.
Produce music, yeah.
think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Specifically for his, because he does his lila when we have. So that's really why Krishna comes. And you could say, he comes to speak Bhagavad Gita, he comes to establish Dharma. We can't deny that because he says he comes for that. But he could have just done that and left. Right? Just comes down, speaks about, like Lord Nrsimhadev comes and goes. He could have just come, battle of Kurukshetra, speak Bhagavad Gita and go. But the cream of the book, which is the cream of the Vedas, and then the cream of that book is the Lila. And the goal is to be absorbed in the Lila. Do you know that Prabhupada said when you chant Hare Krishna, you should be absorbed in the Lila? When was the last time you were absorbed in the Lila when you were chanting? Yeah, that's that. But it's interesting because Krishna, wherever there's Krishna, obviously there's his Lila, and Krishna is in his name, so the Lila is in there. And Prabhupada recognized that not all of us can do that, but he said that is the advanced stage. And I once read that the advanced devotees, sometimes when they're chanting, they're laughing, and sometimes they're crying. And you might say, well, they're just having an emotional experience. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, no, they're seeing the Leela, and Krishna's doing something funny. They're chanting Hare Krishna, they're seeing the Leela, like Leelas that aren't even in the Bhagavatam. And sometimes there's commentaries by acharyas and they're describing some Leela. And then you can question, well, where's that Leela? And say, well, he just saw it in his heart. That's where it was. I can't find a book for it, but he's describing it. So then, Prabhupada said, and then sometimes he's crying because he sees in the Leela, Krishna's leaving, so there's separation. And then Vishwanath, I believe it was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and then he said, when you get to a higher level, you are no longer seeing the Leela, but you're in the Leela. You're not like sitting in a movie theater, you're in the movie. While you're chanting, you're in the Leela. What do you think of that? Sounds good? Hare Krishna. So, are we always supposed to be thinking about Krishna's Leela? Not necessarily, but always thinking about Krishna. But if you read Krishna book, you'll be thinking about Krishna's Leela a lot. As many devotees have told me that if they read Krishna book, when they chant their japa, they think about Krishna's Leela. It's kind of natural, right? And on several occasions, devotees asked Prabhupada, is it okay or should I be thinking of Krishna's Leela when I chant Hare Krishna? As I mentioned before, Prabhupada said, that is the proper way to chant. But he said, you shouldn't be forcing yourself to think of the Leela. It should be natural. It should come through your purification and advancement. So he's saying you should think of the Leela, but it should be natural. And it's more natural when you're hearing about it. And so your reading Krishna book helps your chanting. And your chanting helps you appreciate Krishna's Leela. And then what does Krishna say in the Gita? If you janma karma chame divyam, evam yavati katam. If you know my birth and activities, then you're liberated. If you know them as they are. So, now, here's an interesting point. The Krishna book came out in August of 1970, and around that time, I think the Nectar of Devotion was printed. And then Prabhupada told us to read the Nectar of Devotion. And if you've read the Nectar of Devotion, you know the first third of the book is understandable, and the next 2/3 are more difficult. And for younger devotees, it's very difficult to understand. So, but Prabhupada told us every day we should read Nectar of Devotion. So in those days, we would go on Harinam. We'd bring our lunch with us because we'd stay out all day. And then after lunch, we would read Nectar of Devotion. And so, by doing that every day, we finally got to this portion that starts talking about all these emotions and rasas, and we're like scratching our head, and we're thinking, should we even read this? Because we don't really know what this is. We don't understand this. So one devotee, fortunately, wrote Prabhupada, and he said, Prabhupada, we do not understand that certain, after a certain chapter of Nectar Devotion, we're lost. And we feel like it's way above our heads, and we feel like we shouldn't read it. We're not really qualified. Prabhupada said, just read it, and read it again, and read it again, and read it again. At some point you'll understand. So it's purifying to read it, even if you don't understand. That was his point. You know that story about the lady who collected water in a basket? How many know that story? Yeah, so it's like we're hearing Nectar Devotion again and again, and we're not understanding. We're thinking, this is like over my head, or in my one ear out the other, or completely, off, out of my league. So there was a story I was told about a lady who was going to Bhagavatam lectures, and one day she went to the speaker and said, I just sit here as a waste because everything you say I forget. There's no benefit. He said, no, there's benefit. There's benefit. I said, how can there be benefit? I don't remember anything. He said, do me a favor. Here's a basket. Could you go to the Jamuna and bring me some water? And she said, how am I going to bring water in a basket? Because the water will just leak out of the basket. And he said, just do it. Because sometimes, a teacher wants to teach a lesson by showing through an example. So she goes, she gets the water, and of course the water drips out of the basket. And she said, see, there's no water. It just dripped out. And he said, is the basket cleaner now? And she said, yeah. So you may not understand, but you're hearing. And you're getting cleansed by hearing. And that's why Prabhupada said, if they read one verse, they'll become purified. Then it was like, I was telling some devotees, it was kind of crazy. We felt it was kind of crazy when they were printing the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We were distributing volume by volume. Here's the first volume, distribute them all. We finished. Here's the next volume. Pretty soon we're out there, Antya Leela. Excuse me, sir. It's like giving him Antya Leela, Lord Chaitanya, and then Gambhira, banging his head and ecstatics. And we're like, Prabhupada, are we supposed to distribute these? Yes. Okay. If they read one line, one verse, one line, even one word, they'll be purified. So that's also there. I mean, obviously you want them to understand. We want to have, bring people in and educate them. But there's that, basket with water phenomenon. So, sometimes you find people say, yeah, I got a book, I read it, I didn't understand it. And then 10 years later, they're become devotees. It had some effect. Right? Hare Krishna. So, Machchitta Makata Pranas, Bodhyantas Puraspara. Very good. How many verses do you know? You know many verses?
No, I forgot.
So, Krishna saying the Gita, when devotees come together, they talk about me. And so how they can talk about Krishna? When he does something, they can talk about it. So that's Krishna's mercy, he comes. Okay, now, I would like you to meditate on one Leela. This is my favorite Leela. Imagine you're watching this Leela in a movie theater, 35mm, huge screen, and it's Krishna leaving Vrindavan. And there's a chariot. The sun is, it's the afternoon starting to set. There's a chariot. And this is the first time Krishna has left Vrindavan. And Krishna is more dear to the residents of Vrindavan than their own life is to them. And he's telling them, I'll be coming back this evening, if not this evening, tomorrow morning, if not tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening, if not tomorrow evening, the next day, if not, definitely a week, if not a week, two, and they're all like, yeah, right. But it didn't matter even if they believed him, because he's going. And so when I read this, I just see the movie. Right? When the gopis are throwing themselves in front of the chariot, they're pleading, they're begging, they're tearing their hair out, so to speak. It's just a heart-wrenching scene. So, and here's the theme song. It goes on. You see the scene. Now, what's happening, Krishna has to go. And they're all angry. Well, they're really angry with Apura because he's taking. So the chariot starts moving, right? And it's going. So imagine you're there and you're watching Krishna go in the chariot. Can you visualize it? And this is the song that's being sung for this scene. Without you, Lord, a moment feels like a million years or more, and tears are flowing from my eyes, just like torrents of rain. And we're all, pretend you're all there, and this is what you're singing, and you're watching the chariot go. Without you, Lord, a moment feels like a million years or more, and tears are flowing from my eyes, just like torrents of rain, just like torrents of rain. And the chariots go further and further away. The sun is setting, the chariots getting smaller. And the hearts of the gopis, the residents of Braja, they're tormented. They're in intense pain. Krishna's never left before. It's like their life is leaving. Have you read that story before? Yes or yes? Did you feel like that when you read it? So, did Raghunath Das Goswami feel like that when he read his Bhagavatam? Of course. That's why he was crying. So the Krishna book is very deep. These pastimes are very deep. They're full of emotion. But we have to read them in a way that we experience that emotion. And, you know, in the Bhagavatam, I think it's the first canto, Prabhupada said, there is no difference between personally being with Krishna and reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. Have you read that before? How many of you remember reading that? There's no difference between personally associating with Krishna and reading Bhagavatam. So Krishna's there in the Bhagavatam, in his Leela, he's present. We may not always be in the right mood or appreciate it, but the emotions are extremely, extremely deep in those pastimes. So, Hare Krishna. So, later, Rati Manjari is going to ask you if you would be kind enough to buy some Krishna books to distribute, or to give to another person to distribute. And I'm sure she has many boxes here. And she's going to ask you to participate. So that's why she asked me to speak about this. So, to inspire you all. There's 7,000 left. And I think they're like 60 euros for a box of, how many? 20? It's only 3 euros a box. And they come 10 first volume and 10 second volume. And especially today, the good news is for you only, because we love you so much, you can buy as many boxes as you want. We put no limit on this crowd here tonight. So, anyway, we'll continue the class, but do you have any questions so far? Yes?
You said that, well, by chanting and thinking of the Leela of Krishna, there is no difference, right? Is it the same when you chant and you think of Goloka or Vaikuntha?
Mm-hmm. Don't think of Vaikuntha. Think of Braja. Vrindavan. Because there you think of, you will go. We want to go to Vrindavan. That's where Krishna is. And Radha. Yeah, that's the same. You know the story about this one devotee who was cooking sweet rice in his mind because he didn't have sweet rice or milk or a pot, and it was like, I don't know, in the forest or somewhere he didn't have it, and he said, but I want to offer to Krishna, so he did it in his mind, because the Shastras say your service done in your mind is the same as doing it physically, because it's really the mood that's most important. You know, we Westerners, it's all about producing something, right? You validate yourself and evaluate yourself and value yourself by what you produce. And he produced everything only in his mind. And Krishna accepted that. Isn't that interesting? That's the meaning of absolute. So, you know, like you could produce all these results and have no bhakti. Yeah. Sometimes when you're sick, you know, you can't do service, and you can think about the service. Or like, sometimes you want to do some big service and you know, in this lifetime I'll probably never do it, but you do it in your mind. You like imagine, I've got the big stadium, there's 50,000 people, and I'm doing kirtan. It's Krishna, at least I'd like to do that for you. I can offer for it. I can offer it to you in my mind. At least it's a start. It's something. And so Krishna accepts the effort, the earnestness and that thing. So yeah, thinking of the spiritual world as being there. That's why I said the pure devotee doesn't live in this world. He's liberated. So this consciousness is there. And sometimes in scriptures, it talks about hell as a mentality. I mean, we talk about hell as a planet, more hellish, more heavenly planets, but it talks about hell as a mentality. So it says he lives in hell, but it really means his consciousness is so bad, he's living in a hellish state of consciousness. So he's in hell. Yes?
So is there any, like for someone so stupid like myself, is there any like instruction?
Devotees are very intelligent. Yes.
Instruction, like, you know, WikiHow, you know, how you get into this, how do you get into this state to read in the proper way?
Yeah. Well, there's two ways you can read something. One way is you can read it to understand it intellectually. Another way is you can read it to feel it.
Yeah.
So you can actually turn. This sounds funny. I think we talked about. Did we talk about this in another class? Feeling. Yeah, I think I may have talked about it a few times a little bit. How you can read something to understand it, but you could read something to get the feeling of it. So like your intellect, you're not.
Yeah.
Well, we already understand anyway. So. But you're trying to feel it. And I'll give you an example. I did a course once, and in this course, when I couldn't understand something, they would just say, read it again and feel it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, all I do is think, like 25 hours a day. I just think and analyze. And they say, read it and feel it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I said, what do you mean read it and feel it? She goes, read it and feel it. So it took me a while. And then I kind of understood what they meant. You're not intellectualizing it. So one day I was flying somewhere and I was reading Bhagavatam and I said, well, let me try to read Bhagavatam by feeling. And one of my favorite stories in the Bhagavatam is the story of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa, because Ambarish, the way he acted with Durvasa was so beautiful and so inspiring. Durvasa tried to kill him and he didn't retaliate. He didn't have any ill feelings, inconceivable. So I read that story many times because it's my favorite story. And this time I was just trying to feel. What is Durvasa feeling? What is Ambarish feeling? What's the whole emotion of the story? I wasn't analyzing. I turned the analytical switch off, which was a big thing for me. And while I was reading the story, I realized something. Maybe it's obvious, but if you remember the story, well, I read something that I knew, but I didn't feel it when I read it before because I wasn't in feeling mode. Durvasa goes all through the planets trying to get protection from the Sudarshan chakra. It's chasing him because Krishna is protecting Ambarish. And so the Sudarshan says, it's like a round razor, like 10 billion RPMs per nanosecond. It's like if it hits your neck, it's like a knife and soft butter. And then he goes all over the universe, and he goes all the way to Vishnu, and Vishnu says, I can't protect you. You need to ask forgiveness from Ambarish. So he comes back and says, forgive me. And Ambarish says, no big deal. Let's have breakfast. Because he was waiting for him, because he had made breakfast for him. He happened to be waiting a year, I think. It took him a while. Anyway, we'll just say he was waiting for him, and he comes back. And then, because I was in feeling mode, I finally, something clicked. I said, oh my God, could you serve breakfast to someone who just tried to kill you? I read that at least 8 times, but when I went in feeling mode, there was something that I couldn't see, even though it was there, because it wasn't analyzing, I was just trying to feel. And then I felt Ambarish, like that, I don't know what we would call it, I don't know what I want to say, that deep forgiveness, or not even forgiveness, because he wasn't even hurt, it was deep transcendence and love, or whatever you want to call it. Who in the universe could invite someone over for breakfast after they tried to kill him? Could anybody do that? That was the only time I got it. So all I could say is you can try to do it yourself. Feeling means I'm going to read it without, I'm just trying to feel it. Like that Krishna leaving Vrindavan, the way I was explaining it. That's from the feeling perspective. You can read from the analytical perspective. How old was he? Well, he was 8, but some people say that Krishna aged 1.5 years for every year. So it was actually like he was 12, and he was a Krura and Kamsa. You're like analyzing the whole thing. And did he really leave Vrindavan, or did they say he never did? And you're reading the whole Leela as an analysis, which is not saying it's wrong or bad, but there's a whole different level that you can miss when you do that. But so when you read it with feeling, you're like, oh my God, what are these residents feeling right now? And you can feel what they're feeling. So it's beautiful. Yes.
How can I read the chapters on the universe is being described?
I don't know. It's a different kind of Leela. The feeling of that is, wow, Krishna's amazing. He created this universe like the spark of his splendor. He's my eternal friend, guide, and lover. And my eternal friend, guide, and lover is like, he's amazing. That's one way of getting it. And that Prabhupada said that's why that creation, all that creation information is there in the Shastra, just, to glorify Krishna, like how he can create such a complex universe with no effort. So you could feel that. Feel the complexity, feel the simplicity with which he creates, and that. But like we were saying in the retreat, and that person is asking you to love him. That person wants a relationship with you. Like, wow. Yes?
So if we sometimes go into the dhyan of the Leela,
The what of the Leela?
when we meditate or we just...
Oh, dhyan. Yeah, meditation.
So, but then we lose track of the counting, and then we are not focusing on the Harinam, like what we... it's not a
No,
fault, but how do we
it's not the right way to do it, because Krishna is in the Leela. So if we're losing sight of Krishna's name, probably not being done right.
But if you're chanting and you're just deep meditating, you're just in that, and then sometimes the beats they slip from your hand.
Yeah. Sounds like a good problem to have.
Can you maybe
I'm not that advanced to comment on that, because I've never had that experience.
So we have the similar experience with our own leela, like whatever crazy things we do, it happens similar, and then we can go into the same mode when we do in the more sattvic.
Yeah. Well, if you listen to the tape of Prabhupada chanting, that tape, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. We listen to that in the Japa workshop. That's why I can listen to that a lot. And we ask everyone, meditate on this, like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And everybody hears it. They say, Prabhupada is completely absorbed. He's hearing every syllable. There's not like a distinction that he's thinking of Krishna Leela, so he's like completely conscious. So that's the example we have. And we know Prabhupada's absorbed in Leela, but he doesn't miss a beat with a mantra. You can just hear it. He's completely present, 100%. So just take that on board and figure out, make that your goal. That's what you have to do. So he's very conscious of the name when he's chanting. I mean, you can hear it. It's so obvious. Especially if we're in a retreat and we're chanting, really deeply. And then we hear Prabhupada chant. You hear things and emotions you don't normally hear. In the retreats, we definitely hear that absorption. We can hear it, we can feel it. And everybody says, I just feel like Prabhupada is with Krishna. That's what it feels like. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
How do they know Prabhupada is with Krishna? They have never been with Krishna.
You can feel it just by hearing it. We've never been with Krishna. So we know what it's like not to be with Krishna.
Yeah.
And they hear Prabhupada chanting, and they know, that doesn't sound like my chanting. Because you can just hear his absorption. Just the way he's saying, Krishna, Hare Krishna. Plus Prabhupada said, at the stage of Bhava, you realize, so Prabhupada said, more Bhava and plus, you realize Krishna and his name are the same. And you've seen pictures of Prabhupada chanting japa, just the expression on his face, the depth of his, it's not like he's thinking of some, impersonal light. You can really see that love, that he's connected with Krishna, that he's there. You could see he's there. If you go to the Haveli, at Bhaktivedanta Mandir, right next to the shoe rack to the left, there's a painting of Prabhupada. It's one of the most amazing paintings. It's almost difficult to, if you stand back like 2 or 3 feet, it's hard to believe it's a painting. And it shows Prabhupada chanting in this expression on his face. It's like samadhi. And so, you just can feel that Prabhupada's absorbed and he's with Krishna at that moment. And then sometimes through Shastra. It's like, well, how do I know? Well, I don't exactly know, but this is what Shastra says, that a person on this level realizes Krishna's in his name, and so it seems that's what's happening when he's chanting. It's very inspiring. Because we're chanting and we don't realize that, and we're listening to Prabhupada and we realize that he's realizing that. It's like, oh, I'm supposed to chant like that. That's why we listen to it, to try to get that. This is how we're supposed to. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. You just feel it. There's nothing else there. It's not Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ma Hare Hare. It's not like that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. It's so present. Try it. If you get that recording, just listen to it for a while. See what you hear, what you feel. Prabhupada was training us to be Krishna conscious 24/7. That's the goal. It's stated in his books, it's stated in our Shastra. He wrote it to me in a letter. This is the goal. Absorption. Samadhi. Because you're going to be absorbed in something, because the nature of the mind is to get absorbed. So, we were talking today about being accepting and tolerant. And so one of the most difficult things to accept is that we're going to die, when that time comes. So if we've practiced acceptance throughout our life, then when death comes, it's just we already have been doing it our life. But if we haven't, when death comes, we're confronted with having to accept something that's probably the most difficult thing to accept, and we haven't been good at practicing acceptance. It's going to be really difficult. And we want to think of Krishna always, especially at the time of death. If we're not practiced at thinking about him, what's going to happen at death? Sometimes devotees, it looks like you're going to get in an accident. And some devotees are, Hare Krishna, and some devotees are like, ah! And then you talk to that devotee and say, we almost got in an accident and I failed the test. I chanted instead of Krishna. And did you have that experience? Yeah. So that's not good. Right? Yes.
So when we face death close to ourselves or around us, or some kind of deep problem in life, then the urgency to become Krishna conscious becomes really high.
Mm-hmm.
How can we keep that urgency even though those circumstances are not there?
She's asking, like when you're in a difficult situation, it's easier to be Krishna conscious. How can we keep that mood? Just pray for more difficulty. Bhaktitirtha Swami, his prayer was so beautiful. He said, Krishna, whatever's getting in the way, take it away. And whatever I need to get closer to you, give it to me. So the implication was that if it's some emergency or some difficulty, if that's going to help me, give it to me. And if it's something I really like, that I'm very attached to, but it's getting in the way, take it. So that's one way. You could pray that way. There's a lecture I was at in Los Angeles, and Prabhupada was speaking about Parikshit Maharaj, 7 days to live. And Prabhupada said, you do not know if you have 7 days, 7 moments, or 7 seconds. So if you imbibe that mood, then it's easier to maintain. And sometimes it's said, well, I think it was Satsrup Maharaj who asked Prabhupada, how to become serious. He said, well, just think every day is your last. Like you wake up tomorrow morning, whoops, my last day today. So it's a kind of meditation. If this were my last day, would I have chanted my rounds like I did this morning? Probably it would have been better. Right? What do you think, Tisha? Probably better. Right? So, when Prabhupada was in his last days, and he would say, because Prabhupada's Acharya, he would, he was trying to teach by example how to leave, but he said, don't think this is not going to happen to you. So he's always trying to remind us, and we're always forgetting, and he's reminding us. So, forgetfulness is the problem. So, but at least I think if we remember, we're practicing for that moment, and if you don't practice now, how are you going to deal with it? So, how much time do you have to practice? You don't know how many years you have left. And, it's probably not enough anyway, so how much time can you waste? So these things can create urgency. Another thing that can create urgency is just like a mathematical calculation, like how long does it take to get a human body? What are the chances of being in this situation where you can take advantage of Mahaprabhu's mercy? It's pretty rare. And so Prabhupada, sometimes it seemed to me, practically Prabhupada was pleading to us, like you have this opportunity. Do you realize the opportunity you have? And he was trying to you have this opportunity, but do you really realize it? Take advantage of it. So he wanted us to put things in context. Like look at how you became devotee. So all these things happen. It's not like an accident. Right? And so it's like Krishna's involved. Like I grew up. When I grew up. When I was 17, there's 17 or 18, there's 5 temples in the world, and one of them is 6 blocks from my house. It's like, okay, Krishna, I guess, you're trying to make it easy for me. And then, the high school's good, and then devotees are chanting japa in my neighborhood. I go, who are these people? And then there's this play called Hair, and then on the radio, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Marijuana. That was the second line. Someone told me there was a story that they wanted the devotees to play to do something in the play, and the devotees said, only if you chant Hare Krishna in the play will we help you. And that's why they chanted. Or something, or Prabhupada asked them to do it. So I'm hearing this on the radio, and then I go away to university, right? And I'm walking to class. Ching, 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 ching. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's like everywhere I go, they're devotees. And then I decide to read Bhagavad Gita. Just out of nowhere, this book Bhagavad Gita. I don't even know what it is, and I decide to read it. What does that mean? And then the next day, I didn't buy the book, but I saw the book. I didn't have any money, but I saw it. Bhagavad Gita. I was like, I should read this book. I had no idea what it was. Then the next day I'm on campus, Henry Dayananda Marsh, then Bhakta Howard, sitting at a little card table, and he's got a sign that, I'm good, thank you. Bhagavad Gita class, 4 units. It's a university class, 4 units, Bhagavad Gita. I was like, okay. So, if I remind myself of those things, like when we did at the retreat, that little meditation, we did that meditation at the retreat, to remind yourself how Krishna pulled you out. So now here's the meditation. Krishna has come in my life. I was on the path, going who knows where I was going. Krishna pulled me off that road, because he knew I was looking for him or something spiritual. He pulled me off the road, and he put me on the other road. Like now, and I take that for granted? I hope not. I think everybody should write a biography that starts when you, just for yourself, it doesn't have to be your whole life. It starts with your first experience that got you ready for Krishna consciousness, and then to becoming a devotee. Because I did that, and when I wrote that, it was it's such a different experience to write about it. Because now you're seeing it you're not in it anymore, and you're seeing it from the outside, and you realize by writing it, oh my God, Krishna, this was like the red carpet treatment for me. You know, like I didn't have to do anything. I just had to like get out of bed, and you know, Krishna did everything else. And when you see that, it's like, oh, okay. And now, what am I going to do? Krishna pulled me right out. He put me on the road. Thank you, Krishna. And I'm going to walk off the road. I'm not going to like try to do my business in this life. So, and so very, very often Prabhupada tried to reason with us like that. Like, you know, you made it this far. You're on the road now. And I think in the verse of Bhagavatam or purport, Prabhupada said you're on the verge of deathlessness. Like you're so close to going back to Godhead. You're like this close. We're talking millions and millions and billions of lifetimes. And Prabhupada's saying one life you could do it. In eternity, this life is like a second. So you're like a second away from eternality. Only one more second, and then we'll go back to God. Am I going to turn around? Doesn't make sense. So Prabhupada would have to contextualize our material existence like that, because we didn't always see it that way. You know? So that's why I like that exercise, because it just helps you appreciate that it's the rarity of it, and how Krishna, you know, got you out. Like, how did you become devotee? How did you get out of Maya? Like, how do you do that? You can't. Nobody can get out of Maya, right? Unless there's some mercy. Well, that's impossible. You're just out there, you know, doing your thing, right? Wasting away, trying to be happy, and somehow or other you do something different. You go against the modes of nature. That's incredible. Thank you, Krishna. So, like urgency. Now, if you really want urgency, Krishna could do something in your life to make you urgent. But I would prefer urgency coming from within me, of my own volition. You are on the verge of deathlessness, and you're going to turn back now? After eternally being here, you're like so close. You're gonna, I don't know, it's kind of difficult. Gotta be real. Take it slow. Okay, I'm just making fun, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, when you come this far, it's not like time to make excuses. Oh, Prabhu, you know, if I don't make it in this life, I'll just come back and do it in the next life. Prabhupada said, maybe not. Maybe you'll be born in the family of devotees, and you're just like, I don't like it. There's no guarantee. You have free will to do whatever you want. But most devotees think, yeah, I probably won't make it in this life, but I'll do it in the next. You know what Prabhupada said? I was there. I'm going to tell you what he said. Because you might say, but Prabhu, you were 20 years old. That was a long time ago. Do you remember exactly what he said? Well, this is what I remember he said. In the temple, I can see it all. He said, well, if you don't become perfect, you could take birth in a wealthy family. And this is in Los Angeles, and I grew up in Los Angeles, and I know all the wealthy neighborhoods. So as soon as he said, you could take birth in a wealthy family, my mind went to Beverly Hills. Because I know what Beverly Hills looks like. I know what the houses look like, and I'm thinking. And there's a place above Beverly Hills called Bel Air. It's where Beverly Hills is in the foot of the mountain, and Bel Air is up in the mountains, and that's even more expensive. And the bigger homes, and the, you know, your Madonnas and like that. That's where they have their homes, and your CEOs and brain surgeons and, you know, talk show hosts and like that. So I'm thinking Beverly Hills, Bel Air, and then he said, but because of the wealth and the situation you're in, you could get diverted. So he was basically saying, it's not a guarantee. There's no guarantee. So he was saying, like, don't try to finagle your way to, you know, like, well, not this life, we'll just be around for another one. It'll all be good. It'll all work out. I said, don't think like that. Think like, now I'm this close, let's just do it. So Prabhupada tried to create urgency within us, not through suffering, but through philosophy. Like, look at the rarity of what you have. Look at the process is not difficult. You can actually do it. You won't be happy with other things, so just you're going to do something in your life. And another thing, this is really interesting, that everything and everything you're trying to do, everything you've done, and every ambition you have, it's already been done in another life. It's nothing. It's not new. Well, I'm kind of attached. I wanted to be a famous this or that, or a wealthy this or that. It's like, you've already done that. When you're a demigod, it's way better than anything you're going to get here. What you're going to get here doesn't even compare. So Prabhupada said, nothing new under the sun. And he said, the only thing that's new under the sun that you haven't done is Krishna consciousness. You've done everything else. So why not do this? And then Prabhupada was, not really serious, but in a sense serious. He said, look, every lifetime you've taken from Krishna. He's given you everything, you've taken it, and you've just used it to enjoy. He said, in this one lifetime, give back. Every other lifetime you've taken. So this one life, give back. Then he said, if it doesn't work, no problem. You give another life, do whatever you want. So he's just like pleading, reasoning, logical, just like, come on. And so when I would sit in these classes and I'd listen to Prabhupada, I would get this feeling like Prabhupada is in transcendental bliss. He's come with his medicine to get us out. We don't realize how powerful the medicine is. We don't realize how sick we are. We don't realize how long we've been sick. We don't realize how easy this is. And Prabhupada's trying to show it. And I kind of feel like Prabhupada's like, how do I explain this to these people? They don't get it. They don't realize how fortunate they are. They're just like I realize it. I know it. This is intense mercy. And we're all like, yeah. Let me think about it. I don't know. It's kind of tough. Get up at 4 o'clock. Yeah, and I went surfing to get up at 4 o'clock. Yeah, for that I'll get up at 4 o'clock. For Mangal Arctic. Right? So, many times that was Prabhupada was trying to create urgency philosophically. That's the best way to do it. Right? And so, we just have to remind ourselves when we forget, remind ourselves. You're on the threshold of deathlessness. Think about this. Unlimited numbers of lifetimes we've been in the world. We've been away from Krishna. That's a long time, right? Time immemorial. We've been away from Krishna. It's possible by the end of this life you could go back into that Leela after basically eternity of being gone. Meditate on that for a moment. And if you don't faint, you should. Because that is amazing. Like 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, I could be with Krishna after unlimited time away from him. That's powerful, isn't it? Like the whole thing's finished. I could be there. I could be in that scene being embraced by Krishna. Like Gop Kumar. And it's just in a flash, like that. After all those lives of being away. That's amazing, isn't it? And now you see how strong Maya is, because you can think of your life and you can think of how many times you didn't think like that. And how many times you thought, I don't know, it's going to take it slow, it's kind of difficult. You think of all that, and then you realize that Maya is very strong. She just wants you to slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, and just be comfortable. And Prabhupada says, do you realize what you have? This mercy has never been given before. This is Mahaprabhu's gift. You can get all spiritual perfection. You can enter Braj. You can be dancing with Krishna and seeing Krishna in like a flash in eternity, a second in eternity after all these lives of bondage. And he's always trying to convince us, and we're always like, yeah, I understand, yeah, but I was wanting to be a rock and roll star, so let me pursue that first, and if that doesn't work, then I'll come back and move in the temple. You know, that's our problem. So we have to always remind ourselves and create the urgency. And it's as you know, it's easier to do when you're trying to remind other people of that. Okay? Like, this is so beautiful. You know, so many lifetimes is up. So when you're reminding other people, it's like it hits you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, but I saw that firsthand so many times in so many lectures. Prabhupada nudging us, go back to God. Go back to God in this lifetime. He would end so many lectures. And in this lifetime, go back home, back to God. That's how it would end. So, you know, you really got the message. That's what he's here to do. That's what he wants. And I was fortunate to be in Los Angeles. Prabhupada was there for 3 months, so we heard Bhagavatam every day for 3 months. So if you hear Prabhupada every day for 3 months, you get the theme. You really see it, and that was the theme. Hello everyone, you can dance with Krishna in this lifetime. It's a pretty good deal. 16 rounds, 4 principles, not expensive. You can do it. If I were you, I'd do it. Smart people do it, you know. That was the message. And in this lifetime, go back to God, and all your problems are solved. You know, it's like my new counseling technique. Devotees come with problems. I go, well, I got the solution. Go back to Godhead, because you won't have this problem there. And the reason you have this problem is because you're here. Right? So that's the ultimate solution. Of course, I give other solutions, but that's the overall solution. You know, it's like, you know, if you come back, you're going to have this problem, or some form of this problem again. Right? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Mahatma Prabhu ki jai. Ambiriva Brahmasi, thank you.
I mean, the best thing I can do is repeat what Prabhupada says, because that's where all the potency is. And I feel fortunate that I was able to be in Los Angeles and listen to him every day, and live there, and he came every year and spent time there, and I could hear him in Mayapur.
Now you made us all fortunate also. Thank you so much.
That's our process. We hear what Prabhupada said, we repeat it. You repeat it. You know, one thing I tell my disciples is that you should listen to Prabhupada's morning walk. Listen to one morning walk every day. It's only like 20 minutes. You really want to understand Prabhupada's heart and his mood. Listen to the morning walks. It's like you're right there with him, and you really feel. You want to know what ISKCON was like? Just go there, and go there. Listen. And what's really interesting is when you listen to the conversations that devotees are having. Remember that everyone was in their early 20s and been a devotee like 1 or 2 years, and they're having these conversations, which are not the kind of conversations that generally young people and young devotees would have. But in Prabhupada's association, it's way up there, and it's like everybody joined, and they're like, you know, 6 months, a year. It's like, how long this person's been a devotee? It seems like he's been a devotee all his life. No, he just joined 6 weeks ago. Yes, it was like that. I was with my daughter. We were in Mayapur, and there was a video playing. This shop is selling videos. There's a video playing of the LA temple, and all these devotees are dancing. I go, Shama, I was there. That's 1970, August. That's the installation of the deities. No, I didn't say that yet. I said that to myself. I go, look at this. He said, what does that look like? It looks like an installation. When does it look like it happened? I don't know. It just looks like a normal installation. I go, that was 1970. Average devotee 20 years old, 6 months in the movement. Does it look like that? She goes, no, it looks like ISKCON today. The devotees in Prabhupada's association, zoom, right up the elevator. It's just like, it's so interesting to watch a video from 1970 installing deities, having kirtan. There's so much bhakti and devotion. It's like, how did they get that so fast? That's Prabhupada. So if we, just channel his mercy, his instruction, then you'll be very inspired.
And distribute his books.
Yeah, distribute his books. Read his books before. You can't distribute his books until you read them. It's illegal. So if you're going to distribute this Krishna book, it's illegal until you read it first. As Prabhupada said that in a lecture, because he was picking up on the fact that devotees were not reading his books. So in the lecture he said, so someone asked you. I had a little book, it was called The Process of Creation. It was a chapter from the Bhagavatam. So he said, so you're distributing a book, and they ask you, oh, this book is called The Process of Creation. What is the process of creation? Well, sir, I don't read the books. I just sell them. I can't answer your question. God would say, no, not like that. So that's why I say it's illegal to distribute without reading.
But can they sponsor books?
If you sponsor a book, you still have to read it because you're the sponsor. That makes it perfect. Yeah, of course. You can sponsor books, as we said. We took off the cap so they can sponsor as many books. We're not limiting them today. We have 20 books per box. That means you have about 3,500 boxes, right? 20 books per box, or you have.
No, let's just keep it simple. There's boxes which we have some already packed. We're gonna pack more, and they cost 60 euros. And we have 10 sets, so 20 books for 60 euros.
10 first volume and 10 second volume.
Yes, and then if you want 2 of those boxes, then you pay 108 euros instead of 100.
What a deal! Oh my God!
Yes.
I'll take 10.
Yeah, you do? I will. So the thing is that you can tell us, okay, I want them for myself to distribute them to friends. Christmas is coming up. There's times when you can give gifts, which is a great gift. And you can also say, okay, I'll sponsor it, and others can distribute it for me.
Yes.
And we will. We are already starting, and we will continue because, this is, as Prabhu was mentioning, there's nothing like Krishna Lila. Even if people don't read it, they put it in their, bookcase, they will be benefited.
And if you sponsor it, you'll start dreaming about Krishna Lila.
I will. That's good.
Why not?
I would like that. Yeah, so, okay, and also, so let's say for today, because time is moving along, if you are interested, what shall we do? So we make people raise hands now or not?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So,
Okay.
you want to come up here So, basically what Rati wants to do is get pledges.
Yeah.
60 for one box, 108 for two.
Yeah.
And then you can distribute them, or you can just tell her,
Yeah.
I will sponsor it, and she'll get someone else to